SOFI investors, you must purchase the stock before the 29th. You see, what's going to happen on the 29th is going to absolutely change the price of the stock. The 29th is a very massive day for investors to make a lot of money because on July 29th, we're going to get earnings. And with earnings, the stock is going to absolutely explode. So in this video, I want to cover some big news that we can await to see on the 29th in about a week from now, how you should be positioned, and specifically what to look out for on the earnings call to actually make a good decision of how much money to put in. See, I'm bullish, but the type of bet that you make, the position size that you have on SOFI is also very important. So let's talk about earnings. So the first thing that to look out for is the EPS, okay? The expectation right now and what Wall Street sees for SOFI is an EPS number of roughly 6 cents on revenue of $802 million. Now, a surprise beat or miss, I'm not taking that out of the question because maybe there's like a 10% chance that SOFI may miss on revenue, could result in a massive directional move. So you see, you can actually make 10 to 20% on SOFI very quickly within the next 2 weeks. And that is only possible because of earnings. What happens is when a company reports earnings, the stock price will readjust to the new earnings number. So if the new earnings number is very good, and by the way, the number doesn't actually have to be amazing. If the CEO or any of the management guide to more future, good revenue numbers, that can also raise the price of the stock from 10 to 20% or even more, right? You've probably seen that if you've been an investor in the stock market for, at least several months, yet alone years, that certain earnings events can even make stocks go up 50% or more, right? Depending on how surprising it is. And by the way, there's also something called earnings drift. This is something that I haven't seen anyone talk about on YouTube, but earnings drift is something that I learned back in college, is essentially when a company reports really good earnings, it'll have something called a drift. So say it's at $100, or let's just say in SoFi's case, it's at 21, right? So if it pops up to like 25, it'll also still continue to drift to like 28, 29 over the next few weeks after earnings, okay? And that's really interesting because that's obviously a lot of money that you can make as an investor. Now, let me tell you what I personally am looking for in my prediction on the stock. I personally think that based on the Q1 numbers, SOFI had 800,000 new members, which was like a 34% increase. I think now we're going to see something very, very similar between 800 to 900,000 new members that are signed up. And in Q1, what I thought was even better than the 800,000 members was that they had 1.2 million products with lending originating hitting $7.2 billion. So those are like the 3 data points that made me decide to be in SOFI, which by the way paid, as you know, hand over fist, bicep over tricep money. Absolutely stupid amounts of money was made on SOFI. You guys literally printed cash. And that's a lot of that is really because of top line member growth, more products being used by SOFI customers, and overall company revenue numbers. Now, look, the top line growth number is key. It's really, really key because if they can continue to attract more customers, that's essentially like unlimited amounts of money for them on the back end. So it seriously is key. It's like key, like a treasure chest full of diamonds, rum, a treasure map with lots of, booty essentially, right? Like the pirate movies. It's because if they can grow top line, that just translates into long-term value, LTV, right? So after Q1, they had like a really big, huge record number. I think in Q2, look out for a number between 800 to 900,000. If they come in under $800,000, I actually think that the market may be a bit disappointed in SOFI because right now they're blitz scaling, which is like they're putting a lot of money into marketing efforts to really just scale the top line member numbers. And they know that, once they have these members come in the door, that they can essentially cross-sell them and upsell them into more products on the back end. So it's really all about execution and what investor, and that's, look, honestly, let's be real here. It's all about execution. That's what investors care about. That's the only thing that people care about is money. And if you look at SOFI's execution, I'm very bullish on it. There's like really no such thing as a good idea. It's really good execution, right? So the stock right now is trading for like $20.75. And look, over the last 1 month, the stock's up 36%. And believe it or not, this could end up being 50% plus after we get in the earnings numbers. So the stock could have another leg higher. And it looks like it's almost hard to believe, but it's very well possible given the trajectory and the momentum that they're having with customer acquisition, right? That's really the key, customer acquisition. And what can they do in terms of acquiring new customers? And if they can do that, I don't even think investors care at what cost. Of course, that's important at the end of the day, but the real number is new member growth. So again, if you want to get rich, like if you really want to get freaking rich, if you want to retire, you want to have passive income, if you want to be able to have a nice portfolio where you can actually say, this portfolio will take care of me. I don't need to have a job. I don't need to, kind of like slave away. Maybe you're a doctor. Maybe you're a lawyer. Maybe you're an engineer, right? You have a good job, but if you actually want to retire, you need to have passive income, you need to have investments, and that's super important. And look, anyone can just invest in the S&P 500, but how do you actually pick a good stock that will make you richer faster and get you over to the finish line sooner, right? It's not hard to be a millionaire once you're like 60, 70, right? How do we get there as soon as possible, right? And I know maybe let's say you're 55. How do you go from 55 to retired at 58? Like that is something that's cool, right? How do you do that faster so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, the hard-earned money that you made? So if you want to get rich, you want to follow companies simply that have good management and good execution. That's literally it, right? Obviously a good trend as well. So if a company's in AI, that's a good way to make money. Like we already know that NVIDIA, Palantir, like these stocks printed money because they're in the AI space. And, SoFi actually has a bit of that as well because they're using AI to reach out to customers. So they have a lot of data, of course. They're using that data for personalization. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Why I'm also really bullish, and I think that SoFi will have really good earnings, is the expansion into new products. So they're expanding into crypto, private market investing, and I think they're going to really attract fresh new members. I always talk about like the upsell model and how much they make on the back end by having more products, which means that they have like this crazy cycle of like acquiring lots of customers and selling them more on the back end. But something that's really interesting is that having more products also actually attracts more people on the front end. So it's kind of like just like this really amazing cycle of, have a lot of customers come in, have more products where those customers upgrade to new products, but having more products to begin with means that there's more interested new people that might sign up for those back-end products as a front-end product, right? So when I say front-end and back-end, by the way, I'm gonna give you a quick business lesson that like no one ever will give you on YouTube. It's called the funnel, okay? SoFi has an amazing funnel. So a funnel is basically in marketing and sales is a step-by-step path that guides a potential customer from first discovering your brand all the way to making a purchase and ideally becoming a loyal customer. So that's what's called a funnel. It's a funnel because it starts really wide, right? It starts just wide with attention, right? Lots of people will see content or ads or simply like SoFi will have the SoFi Stadium. So people are like, well, what's SoFi? Like they're not really aware, right? Now they're becoming more aware, and that's where the top of the funnel is. The top of the funnel is like people that they have some money and they don't have a savings account. So like they come in at the top of the funnel for something like pretty broad, right? Something simple. And then the funnel basically narrows down. So if we talk about something that's more like middle of funnel for SoFi, it's like creating an account and signing up for a credit card. Maybe like they've heard of SoFi, they looked at the website, and then down in the funnel, maybe they have a checking account. A little bit lower in the funnel, it's basically like they get $10 for funding their account, right? So they open an account, but there's no cash there, right? I mean, it's cool that you get an open account, right? But an open account for SoFi, doesn't mean anything yet. So what's better? Is it better to like have an open account, or is it better to have an open account with $1 million in it? Obviously, an open account with $1 million. So that's more like the middle of the funnel is where like a customer already puts in a bunch of money into their account. Or for example, you get a free stock for like referring a friend, or they call in for like mobile support and onboarding. That way they can deposit money, right? So these are all like steps of the funnel, and SoFi is like extremely good at getting customers from like point A to point B, which is like top of the funnel, So look, like the top of the funnel is just like awareness, right? Then like middle of the funnel, early middle of the funnel would be something like creating a free account, right? They're not really making money yet, but it's like that person's not just like, oh, I heard of SoFi. It's like, hey, I have an account at SoFi, right? So they're coming down the steps. They're coming down like the ladder of the funnel, right? Something like more bottom of the funnel would be around engagement and like cross-selling. So they already have an account, they already have whatever, a checking account or a credit card. And now SoFi's job, or the part of the funnel, which is like more bottom of the funnel, would be like monetizing and deepening the relationship with the customer. And basically, this comes down to monetization tactics. You can tell that I have a lot of experience here. Not only do I have a business degree, I've been coaching for a long time. I've had tons of success with coaching. By the way, if you're interested in coaching with me, I'm a good businessman, I'm a good investor, and I'm a good coach. There's a lot to like about me because I get the best results hands down on YouTube and the best results for investors. So I'd love to have you. I have a few more one-on-one spots available, so you're more than welcome to go ahead and check that out in the first link. But let's talk about like the bottom of the funnel, which is for SoFi, it's essentially like monetization tactics. So it's offering personalized information. This is why I'm so bullish on SoFi, guys. Like people are like, Henry, like SoFi is like cool, it's like a bank, but like what makes it really different from like a JP Morgan or a Bank of America? Well, the thing is they offer personalization. They operate kind of like a tech company in terms of like being very fast and agile. They're also extremely good at like marketing and sales and personalization. So they offer personalized loans, credit cards, mortgages, student financing. The craziest thing is SoFi is kind of like Amazon. They pretty much already know like what you want to order before like you order it, right? In Amazon's case, in stock, they'll have like, I talked about this before, but like say you have like a faucet extender. It's like kind of like a weird thing to sell, but it makes a lot of money on Amazon, right? Well, Amazon will hold like in your local city, like X amount, say like 15 faucet extenders, and they already know how many will be ordered for that week, including which day. Same thing for like SoFi. They pretty much know which customer is going to like likely upgrade into a student loan or refinance that student loan, right? It's because of data and predictive analytics. It's called predictive analytics, right? Because I have a degree in finance economics analytics. And something that I was personally studying and I was super interested in was something called predictive analytics. So SoFi can predict ahead of time which features a customer is like more likely to like, and it'll encourage them to open up a new account or invest in stocks or to just go for like something else within their platform. Maybe push them to SoFi Plus, which is a subscription for better rewards, or like new features like the private market investing, which gives them access to something like OpenAI or like even SpaceX. And the whole reason like a funnel works is because it starts like, pretty easy, like it's like a free thing, and then it gets sticky over time. So cross-selling occurs later on in the funnel, and cross-selling has extremely high margins per user because if someone is already a customer, then for SoFi, it's not that hard to make a lot of money by referring them to another product, right, or service. So mainly products. SoFi has mainly products. And what I also like about SoFi and why I'm super freaking bullish for the 29th, like we're about to make ridiculous money. I'm telling you right now, you're about to make like money like a banana, right? You're gonna make like bananas money. It's because like they own the entire infrastructure. They own SoFi Bank, so they basically have like low costs and they own the entire spread, right? They own the entire spread. Unlike like Robinhood. So Robinhood will mainly make money through like transactions and they're not actually holding the loan on their balance sheet, whereas SoFi is, which means that yes, they kind of have a little bit more risk if like 2008 happens for sure. But I think we're in a really good economy right now. So we're probably not going to get 2008. Okay, I can't predict the future. I don't know, but I think we're in a good market. Like we're in like if you look at the debt of the US, it's high, but our GDP is doing fine. Like we are doing okay, especially with AI advancement. I'm really bullish right now. I think we're gonna have a very strong 2025 and you better load up on like good quality stocks, which SoFi is one of them. So I'm gonna be using options to make even more money on the 29th, but yeah, that's like just something I'm gonna privately do in Discord. But I think it's incredibly like obvious what to do, especially if you look at institutional flow. If you look at institutional flow, like there's a lot of people that are investing money from institutions, big investors, retail investors. Let's actually take a look. I wanted to show you something on the statistics side of SoFi. I wanted to actually analyze a bit more on their market cap, which I've been saying since it was like around 15 billion. So I was saying like even last year that SoFi is a tremendous purchase that you can have. And we're gonna go to $30 billion on SoFi. Now you can see like percentage of insiders hold 3% of the stock, where percentage of institutions is like 47, I think there's going to be a lot more demand from institutions, and the short interest is actually very high. So I know it took me a long time to say this, but essentially I think that we're going to get a short squeeze on the stock. We're going to get a short squeeze on SOFI. And SOFI is going to, if we get some good earnings, this stock is absolutely going to explode. And the number one reason is literally just the short interest. Because the short interest is 14%, what's going to happen is investors are going to have to cover. And when they're shorting a stock, they basically have sold shares without owning them. So they're borrowing shares. So if they want to close their position, they need to buy shares to close their short. So I'm telling you, SOFI may explode freaking like no other, really. So I want you to understand that SOFI has a huge opportunity because of the TAM, which is total addressable market. That's TAM, TAM. SOFI is not just a bank. They're going after banking, investing, lending, crypto, private markets, all in one single app. So I think Wall Street really sees this as an opportunity and more investors will want to invest in it. So the TAM isn't like 10 billion. The TAM here is like 500 billion. The TAM is like JP Morgan size. So if you compare this to like Robinhood or PayPal or Schwab, they're all like a little bit more fragmented, whereas SOFI is like more of a pure play. So I'm like really bullish on it. I have a good amount of SOFI. And if you look before the 29th, I believe that having shares will give you really huge disproportionate results, especially if earnings come in good, which is what I expect. So I think SOFI right now is one of the most undervalued fintech companies. But yeah, I'm not getting paid from SOFI, so it doesn't really matter if you hold it or not. It's up to you. Do your own research. I want to make sure that you understand I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet trying to make you some money, trying to make you wealthier. Been doing this for a very long time. And yeah, if you want some more help with trading, specifically option trading, I'd be happy to have you. I do one-on-one coaching and I have a Discord community where I trade live. So let's make some money this week and let's go SOFI.